I'm Zoe Delahunty-Light, and I'm deep into Palworld. I've befriended bosses, got my base running and had it been destroyed, and bonded with Daydream so much that I feel guilty if she's not in my party. And all of that means I have a ton of tips I want to share with you if you're just getting started in Palworld. If you want to know more about Palworld, make sure to subscribe to Eurogamer and like this video because I have more Palworld videos coming, and you, my friend, will determine how much more Pal-themed content I make. Anyway, here are the Palworld tips you need to know if you're just getting started. Careful about having Daydream as a pal. Daydream is one of the first pals you'll come across, so once you've got her collar, she's a great option for your first party member. However, she does one-shot lower level pals, which is an issue when you're trying to catch them. Her dark shot automatically fires off when you attack something, so it's not an ability you have any control over really. On that note, be careful about having too many pals out at later levels, as they will destroy lower level ones you're trying to catch for that XP bonus, which I'm going to tell you about right now. The easiest way to level up at first is by taking advantage of the bonus Palworld offers for catching 10 of each species of pal. Doing so gives you a huge XP boost and will have you climbing levels in no time. Related, don't sleep on the habitat page in the paldeck. It'll tell you where to find specific species, so you're not wandering around aimlessly if you want to get that 10 catch XP bonus. Also, don't be afraid to explore at first. You should be fine. Even if you know you're not going to catch a pal with a normal pal sphere, it's still worth lobbing one at them. Pals, if a chunk of their health is gone when they're healthy or just bounce off, will more or less always be caught by a pal sphere initially, giving you a couple of seconds to prep your next shot. This is especially handy during boss battles when you need a second to breathe, or at lower levels when you're preparing to fire from your bow or reloading the excruciatingly slow yet powerful musket. Relatable. Heads up, you're going to need a lot of pal spheres as you don't get to retrieve the ones you miss pals with, so get crafting. Don't feel pressured to spend all the tech points you get when you level up. Initially, you'll be leveling up very quickly, so you'll have more than you know what to do with, so it's best to wait to see what later technology tree ranks have in store for you. You can stay away from those guns pals can wield too if that's not the vibe you're going for. That's what I did, and I have no regrets. There's no way I want to see those cute little things walking around with guns, come on. Pal fluid is one of the resources you'll need for quite a few recipes, and it comes from water-type pals. Best not to think how. You have two options here. Go on a bit of a rampage and vanquish enough water-type pals to get pal fluid from their bodies, or catch the same amount of water-type pals and get pal fluid as a reward. With the latter option, you will have a lot of water-type pals cluttering up your pal deck, which you will have to deal with one way or another later on. I'm sorry, some aspects of Palworld are really dark. Until you get a cooler box at level 12, food will gradually rot in your inventory and disappear when the timer gets to 0. So, stock up on berries all the time and have pals dedicated to keeping your food supply regular, or you'll be away from base and will return to find some very hungry, possibly sick pals. One of the biggest issues I ran into in Palworld is pals getting bugged out and being unable to eat, then getting grouchy and losing sanity. So, if you see an alert that a pal is hungry and in a bad mood, but you have plentiful supplies of food and beds, chances are it's stuck somewhere. In that case, move it out of your active pals in your pal deck and then just pop it back in. The pal will respawn at the pal deck and will go and eat or sleep to get its sanity back up. Relatable. A fair amount of the common pals will flee from you when you approach, making it difficult to catch them in pal spheres. However, You can force them into combat by shooting them as they flee, instantly triggering their aggressive state. I've never found a pal that will continue to flee if I start attacking it, even though it probably should. Like pal spheres, stocking up on arrows at lower levels for your bow or crossbow is essential. But unlike pal spheres, you don't have to be bouncing back and forth between your base and the map, as you can build a primitive workbench anywhere to craft and restock on arrows, even when you're exploring the wilds. Turn off raid options in the world settings if you want to base build in peace. You can change this at any time if you want to add some anxiety to your playthroughs. Seriously, please learn from my mistakes. Even when you're over-encumbered, you're not completely immobile as long as you have rideable pals in your party, like Grintail, Vanworm, Serpent, Chillit, Azarobe, etc. These pals can be ridden and will still move even though you are technically over-encumbered. Sure, they may be slower than normal, but it beats having to drop the ore or other resources you're carrying. You get a bonus to your catching chance if you throw a pal sphere at a pal from behind, so it pays to be sneaky. You'll need to be quick though, as aggressive pals and higher level ones will see you coming from a mile off. Lower level pals like Liftmonk and Lamball are much easier to catch unawares. During your travels, you'll come across Liftmonk effigies, these glowing green statues. They can be redeemed at these statues to increase your catching ability, which is worth its weight in gold and will pay its dues back in no time at all. You'll find these mysterious statues in either abandoned churches, or at later levels you can build one at your camp. And even if you don't have enough Liftmonk effigies to level up your catching skill, they're still useful. Using pal souls at these statues lets you level up the pals in your party so you can improve their defense, attack, health, and more. Best not think about the fact that pal souls are just wandering around, but anyway. Wait until night to find Liftmonk effigies. They are so easy to see at night, as they shine like beacons from ages and ages away, meaning you can head directly towards them instead of hunting around in the blasted daylight. The same goes for fast travel statues. Their orange light is much more visible come dusk. Pausing does not pause the game. Do not make the mistake I did and leave the game idling and then come back to your character having died of starvation. You need to quit Palworld completely to pause time. As Palworld is multiplayer, it makes sense for it not to pause when any player goes into the menu because that would be just awful, but still, even for those of you playing solo, learn from my mistake. Don't forget that if you're on controller or Xbox, you can press RB to quickly stack resources when you're moving inventory to and from chests. It saves so much time. Heat-resistant metal armor and cold-resistant metal armor both have a much higher defense than normal metal armor, so unlock the recipes and craft them even if you're not planning on going to the extreme climates. The hot armor will mean you're more susceptible to cold at night, but if you keep your metal armor or your cold armor in your inventory, you can just switch between them. That minor inconvenience is well worth the extra defense stat, in my opinion. There you go. Those are the tips that you need to know for Palworld if you're planning on playing Pocket Pair's creature collecting base defense game. As it is in early access at the moment, as time goes on and the developers release patches and updates, I'll be revisiting these tips and my review and posting my updated thoughts in video format, so if that sounds like something you'd want to watch before you decide if Palworld is for you, feel free to subscribe to Eurogamer and drop a like on this video, as that gives me an indication of whether Palworld updates would be helpful. Having said that, thank you so much for even watching this far. You're my favourite kind of person, as YouTube loves watch time, so thanks so much for choosing to spend your time with me. Now, I'm going to go and befriend another intimidating boss in Palworld, so I'll see you folks next time.